not just your typical War Thunder video today. This is more of a series I am starting. It's going to be a 10-episode series. I'm limiting it to 10 episodes for right now, just to see how it does. But, as you can see by the title, this is the American tanks of World War II. Now, I might maybe do one thing, a gameplay with them, but mainly I'm just here to show you guys, because I was going to do this very differently and just open a bunch of tabs on Google and show you pictures of the tanks, but I felt like that would be a little lame compared to this, and I feel like, I don't know, some pictures are copyrighted, so yeah, that would just probably not be feasible. But anyways, if there's anybody in the live chat joining, this is great, but I'm going to edit this video later and post it on YouTube. This is really not like a gaming stream. So, if we're going to start, I think we obviously should deserve to start with the light tanks. Now, obviously, opening up the War Thunder tech tree, you can see there's an M3A1, there's an M2A4, an M2A2. There's so many, dude. There's so many. Which one should I really start with? I feel like most people know most of these. I mean, you have the M22 Locust, the LVT, you know, the M3 GMC, M3A1 Stuart, which I actually don't have. I think they rearranged this tech tree. I'm not really covering anti-airs. But I mean, an interesting thing to note here is China has a variant of one of these. I really want to see. Ah, yes, this. So the LVT's is too. There's a China. It's in game. It's Chinese. America, I think, does have one, but it's just one I would like to point out that I don't have in the American tech tree. But yeah, these are boat tanks. These were mainly used in the Pacific War. So, I mean, that was really against Japan. But anyways, I digress. Back to America here. The light tanks were pretty interesting. I think we should probably start with the M2A4. So if you look at this, the M2A4, it really looks very similar to the Stuarts. I'm really not going to go into this because the Stuarts, you know, they're all basically kind of the same thing. They just have, you know, different modifications, slightly different things. Like if you look at the M2A4 and then you look at this right here, this Stuart down here, they're kind of the same, but they're also kind of different. Like the hull is very different, but they're the same premise. You know, it's just one of those things. It's basically the same thing. Although I think the next light tank of worth we should mention is, other than the LVT, the M22 Locust. So these things were in World War II, 37mm cannon, as you can see. Absolute garbage. Like these things are actually very small. I mean, I guess for the purpose of reconnaissance, they did their job, but it was good. It was good, but there was a better one. Where is it at? Where's that? There was a better light tank that we should mention. Ah. See this? This doesn't really... Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Now, this is... Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't think this is what I was looking for. That looks way too modern. Where is the one? I don't know. There's another light tank I was going to look at, but I honestly kind of forgot the name of it. Rest in peace. Oh, no. There it is. M24. M24. I was about to say, what? The flip? Yeah. So the M24 Chaffs, also used in World War II. Because I looked at that and was like, that is Cold War. That is not what I wanted. M24. 75mm gun. Again, it's a reconnaissance tank. Really not for tank combat. It's really just looking for infantry and being able to hold its ground. So, you know, there's the light tank, and I think that's really about all the light tanks I want to cover for today. Okay, now for the medium tanks. I am going to have a little pop-up that's going to show up in the top right of the screen here soon. And that's basically going to have a video that links to a War Thunder video that shows the entire M4 family that is at least in War Thunder. I mean, of course, they don't have every single M4 in the game. They don't have the mine clearance M4. They don't have the underwater M4, or they don't have a lot of M4s in this game. They don't even have the flamethrower. Battlefield 5 is the flamethrower M4. But you know, they have most of them. But I think we should at least talk about the M3 Lee first, because I mean, this is kind of the thing. So here is, oh my goodness. Okay. So, basically, we have the M3 Lee, which, this honestly, I mean, look at this design right here. They have this built on. This was kind of terrible. This gun, I think it was a naval cannon, I believe, they mounted on the side. 'Cause they were like, we need to have something that can actually pack a punch, and this is just for infantry. That machine gun up there is for infantry. This thing was honestly a very weird design. You really didn't see much more multi-turreted American tanks after this. But obviously, they still made a few. So which M4 should we start with? I'm thinking we start with just the base model M4. So this thing is quite interesting. I think this is probably not the first model, but it's one of the first. It's just the base solid M4s. This was really good, actually, this specific one. I've used this a lot in game, just because at 3.7, this thing is actually really good. It skips quite a few rounds, but it does have a few hull designs. And then, of course, you have the M4A1, which if we look at here, it has that, you know, the M3 Lee bottom. This is a slightly worse version, you know, slightly weaker armor. I'm not going to go into covering all of these, but like I said, that War Thunder video link. And then you have the 76Ws. Now the 76Ws, let me just use the M4A3. Well, no, I'll use the A2. I love the look of the A2 a little bit more. So the M4A2, 76W, these were basically, these long barrels were meant to deal with like the Panthers and Tigers, because their short barreled 75s did not cut it when they first entered the war. So obviously they had to make higher calibered guns, and you know, just something that packed a lot more of a punch. Now another nice thing of worth here is the jumbos, or the M4A3E2s if you want the technical term. Now I'll show you the long barreled one. This is because like I said, it's better. Actually, never mind, I will not show you the long barreled one. I forgot I have like a mega crap ton of bushes on it. So straight jumbo, if you take, okay, especially at the armor here, high amounts of armor, but it's not angled. It's not angled. That's kind of the thing. It's got 200 basically, with the consideration of the angle flat. And, you know, the turret all around her. 298. Like this thing, man, this thing is insane. I mean, you could probably pin right down there with 145. Yeah, you might be able to pin down there. Aim there. But obviously, you could aim for the machine gun turret here. Could aim, you could cut through a lot of things, because I mean, you see this is two-plated. There's a 50 and then there's a 92. Like it's a multi-plated beast basically. So the jumbo is a really good tank. But yeah, later on in the war though, you started to see some interesting things. So you had the, oh, here's one that's nice to mention. I don't think, because I think the War Thunder video is actually a little bit outdated. There is an M4, this thing is so derpy looking. The M4 T26, so basically when the Pershings were coming into play, they mounted the turret of a Pershing on an M4 hull. And this looks so weird. It's got a 90mm gun, but it looks so weird, dude. You have no idea how weird this looks. Like, it's just something I like to know. But I want to know something kind of sad here. I completely forgot about the T25. I completely forgot about your existence, bro. Enough said. But you have the M26 here, which there is a M26 with rockets on the side. Well, I guess I'll just show the rocket one. I did not mean to hit modifications. My bad, people. Preview. So obviously the base model does not have these rockets on the side, but this is basically what the M26 Pershings looked like in World War II. 90mm gun. These, these were so much better. So while the Soviets had their T-34-85s, the Americans had their, you know, mostly their M4s, but the M26, oh dude, this is hands down. Their Pershings were so much better than the T-34s the Soviets had, but man, it's kind of debatable on which is better, the M4 or the T-34, but I'll make a video on that later. But yeah, dude, the Pershings are so much better than the T-34-85s, and they're a medium tank. So yeah, I do want to mention though, the Super Pershing. Well, let's look at the E5 first. This one is a little weird, but it exists. However, I want to look at this one. Now this is kind of a heavy tank, honestly. The Super Pershing is, but I'm still kind of putting it in just for the sake of video. I forgot I had bushes on it, but basically, regardless of the bushes, it's got this like extra armor here that pretty much there's only one of these, I think, in World War II. Yeah, there's only one. So there's only one Super Pershing. Kind of sad, but that thing must have been a beast. It's a long-barreled 90 mil, but uh Super Pershings are insane. Because I mean, yeah, you have this M4 T26 turret, and it's just insanity. Now, I think I showed the wrong thing, but yeah. Man, dude, these know what they're doing. These know what they're doing. Now, I have a bit of this weird thing when it comes to World War II tanks, because obviously the T28, which honestly in here, T95, T28, it's actually correct to call them both. This was, I think, made in 1945, but it was not in World War II. But this is a super heavy, and I think America's only super heavy. Now 105. Then you had the T29, which I do have, and then you have the T30, which I don't have, which I think is like a 150 millimeter version. Like this is this is a 105, but there is I think a 150 millimeter version that's the T30, and of course you have the American T34, which I am still researching. But 120. This is Cold War stuff, which just I thought I'd mention. So when it comes to heavy tanks, obviously the jumbos are considered heavies. But there was another tank that was kind of like that. So we had these M6A1s here. These were heavy tanks. As you can see, it's clearly not that good. I mean, I'm okay. In terms of look-wise, it's not that good. I mean, honestly, I think the T14 does a lot better job. I mean, look at this thing. It's basically a giant Sherman. It's a giant Sherman. I mean, look at it. It's like they added like side skirts and just bolted on extra armor to this thing. Like that's what it looks like. But obviously, the T1E1 is probably of most notable mention here because it was just the better version of the old previous tank. And I don't see these a lot in War Thunder. Honestly, I really don't see them that much. I wonder why. But yeah. Bonus thing. So I have actually my senior picture is actually of the M56 Scorpion, and I'm standing like the tank's at an angle like this. So I did actually get a picture with the M56 Scorpion. Just a little bonus fact there. And I think I've seen one of these in real life too, the T92. But I could be wrong. But yeah, we need to go back to World War II. So, my personal favorites here, the tank destroyers. Obviously, you had the M8 HMC, which is, I mean, it's a thing, I guess. It's so derpy looking, but I mean, it exists. They have the turret of that. They put on an LVT, so do keep that in mind. Which, as a reminder, the LVT is this little boat thing. Yeah, they had like a Stuart turret on the top, but they also had the M8 turret, the ZIS 2 gun, which is on that Chinese version. Yeah, these boat tanks they use in the Pacific War all the time. But yeah, the M4A3 is pretty decent. The first one I really want to talk about, I mean, yeah, the M3 GMC is good. Obviously GMC for General Motor Cars. The M10 Wolverine. So this thing, put a yellow and blue paint job on this camo, and it would be a nice joke, like have adamantium claws. No, it's not that Wolverine. This is the original OG World War II Wolverine. I wonder, okay, if they ever had an Avengers movie where it was, or just a Marvel movie where it was just Captain America and Wolverine in World War II. You know how cool that would be if they had Wolverine riding the M10 Wolverine? Somebody needs to make a fan art of that because that would be freaking awesome. But yeah, Wolverine, like jumping onto the side of it for a brief moment, riding on it, on an M10 Wolverine. That's just cool thing. Anyways, next was, where the flip did they move? Oh, I forgot they moved it. Okay, this is not a light tank. I don't know why they made it. It was a tank destroyer. I mean, it was as light as a light tank, and it moved. It had the mobility of a light tank, but that's just not. It's just It's not. So the M18 Hellcat. Obviously, you've probably seen this before, but you know, 76 millimeter gun. This thing put in the work. Let me tell you. I've used this a lot in War Thunder. It's so good. My friend hates it when I bring it out against him in 1v1s because like it's so fast and it's got such a good gun that it's just so annoying. But yeah, the M36s. Aha, the M36 Jackson. There's obviously a protected roof version of this, but you know, 90 millimeter tank destroyer. Really, really good. Really, really good. Now, if you look at the storage of this back here, the stowage racks. It's a pretty interesting tank. Now, I believe that is basically it for now. Yeah, so that is the American World War II tanks that I will mention. Obviously, my lineup here is quite interesting. I've got the Sherman from Fury, kind of, well, they have the M4A3E8, which is the EZ8 Sherman, which that is the Sherman they used in Fury. But, you know, it's just one of those. Here's an M4A1 76W. So here's an earlier model. Now, I would like to go to Britain here for a second, because they do have some interesting tanks here. That the Americans, so the British actually called them Shermans, because, you know, the British was like, hey, can we have some, hey, America, can we have some tanks? Sure, man. Ha. Haha. But anyways, terrible jokes aside, there are two things I would really like to mention here. So you have the Sherman Firefly, which, I mean, yeah, it is technically a British modification, but, you know, on American tank. Dude, the armor of this sucks, but the gun is so insane. The Sherman Firefly really packs a punch. Too bad it's only really ammo-piercing rounds and not the APHE. But Sherman Firefly really good. But there's another thing I think we should mention here. It's the Skink. I mean, just look at this derpy-looking thing. Quad 20 mils. This is basically the whirlwind of the British. And I guess the Americans technically, but, you know. This is so weird looking. Like I'm telling you. I don't know what was going on with that. But yeah, I think every single country has a Sherman. And I think every single country in World War II did have a Sherman. I mean, heck, the Germans have this captured Sherman right here, which I have used many times. The Herman, the German Sherman. I mean, it's got a bunch of bushes on it, but, you know, the Germans had some captured ones. I know the Soviets on the Lend-Lease Act had a few. Let's see here. Yeah, there it is. See, this M4 right here, M4A2. This is 76 mil. Yeah, I've used this a few times. It's honestly really good to have this in Russia. But the Russians had one. Obviously, I just showed you some ones in Britain. Japan, obviously, they're going to have a few that they've captured. But, you know, what's funny is in-game, they really don't have, I don't think, an M4. They have, oh yeah, they do. There it is. I was like, I know they have one. Every single country had an M4. I will stand by that fact. Every single one of them had an M4 at some point. Especially, I mean, this is Japan's. And I mean, you got China over here, which, like I said, China's weird. Like, they've taken from both American and Soviet tanks, and they've reverse engineered them and made them better. I mean, just look at this T-34-85 that the Chinese have. They just freaking made it better. They put this massive gun on the top of it and called it good. But we're not talking about the Soviets here. I'm here to just point out that they do, in fact, use M4s. And I mean, just look at this one right here. Bam! Yep, look, Chinese M4. No, there's no 50 cal on the top. Italy, I know Italy's got some. You want to know how I know that? Yeah, I know that. Because look at this Sherman VC right here. Or the Sherman V, I guess. Yeah, look at this. Italians have one. Every single freaking country has one. I mean, of course. Yeah, I like how the R3 is just down there permanently. France. France had one. Want to know what it was? There's the Stuart. And there it is. Let's just go with this one for the heck of it. Look at this. Bam! Yeah, France had... This one was a lot... Whoa. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have clicked this one. I think this is a Cold War French one. But, yeah, the France has one. There's one right there. M4A1. Sweden! And Finland. Finland had one. I know Finland had one sometime in their career. It's just not in game. But, I mean, yeah, look at this. Sherman, 3 or 5. Right there. Premium line. What about Israel? Well, they're more of a Cold War thing. But they have an M51, which is basically a Sherman. Like, I'm telling you, they had Shermans. They had them all the time. The last one I do want to mention is probably, in my opinion, the coolest one. The T-34 Calliope, or the Calliope, or whatever you want to say it. Or just the M4 Calliope. This thing, I think it's got, what, 64 rockets? Yeah, this thing is just a beast. 114 millimeter rockets. There's another one that has, like, a slightly different rocket layout, but I honestly forgot the name of it. But yeah. American World War II tanks. Nice thing to mention. Ending stream. Hopefully. So, yeah. That's the end of the stream.